That's what we just saw. Mississippi State and Arkansas. 7-3. But Mississippi State won the ball game. And that's what was most important coming in this game. State just had to find a way to win, and they did. I think that's the biggest takeaway that I have here. State has been bad at times on offense this year. They've been bad on defense at times this year. The coaching's been hit or miss. They've been beaten up with injuries. But what they haven't done is win an SEC game. And today, they went on the road and won an SEC game. I don't care if Arkansas stinks. I don't care if Arkansas is on the verge of possibly firing Sam Pittman. They've lost 5 straight games, whatever. State was picked to lose this game when the lines dropped by 9 points. They won this game 7-3. Period. End of story. So we'll just cut it off from there. No, I'm kidding. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to dissect in this crazy game. It wasn't quite 3-2, Mississippi State and Auburn, but it's up there. It's going to be one of those games we talk about in the future about how bad it was. Offensively, it was just absolutely awful. It was an awful game on the offensive side of the ball. We knew it was going to be maybe not a struggle for Mississippi State, but we didn't really know what to expect with Mike Wright at quarterback. And I didn't think Mike was awful. I know a lot of people were upset at times with Mike. For me, the play calling was bad in this game. The offensive line play pre-snap was bad. I thought they were okay blocking for the most part. I mean, they rushed for 120 yards in the ball game. Mike Wright had 60 yards rushing on 11 carries. And, a couple of those were sacks. When he took off and run, he was electric. And one of his runs got called back on a crackback block, but, that is what it is. He was 8 of 12, 67%. I mean, he hasn't been, terribly inaccurate. He was able to put back that interception that he had in the first possession, which, by the way, led to the only points in the game for Arkansas. And I thought he played well enough in the game to win. I didn't think State played very well on the offensive side of the ball. I didn't think the play calling was very good. Woody Marks was hurt pretty much the whole game, was trying to fight through it. He had 17 carries for 42 yards. If this guy was healthy, he would be one of the best backs in the league, but he just can't stay healthy. Now he's got a hamstring issue. Gutted it out and played in the second half, but I just don't know if we're going to see a fully healthy Woody Marks again at Mississippi State. I just don't know. But, State was not good on the offensive side of the ball, and Arkansas was considerably worse. And I say that, and I want to also say Mississippi State's defense played their best game of the year by far. And I mentioned this several times on Twitter. I don't know if we'll have any confirmation. I doubt Zach Arnett will say anything about it, but this looked like almost definitively Zach Arnett's defense. Mississippi State has not blitzed the way that they have in this game. They haven't done that all year. They haven't been as aggressive as they were defensively as they were in this game. And, you can say what you want about Arkansas's offense, and I said the same thing. I've seen Arkansas almost every single game this year. Their offense has totally ruined KJ Jefferson. He was 19 for 31 for 97 yards. I mean, they weren't taking very many shots down the field. When they did, it was late in the ball game. But, it was just, dink and dunk yards. He just looked so uncomfortable in this offense under Dan Enos. We knew that was going to be the case. And what Mississippi State did, give Zach Arnett and Matt Brock, whoever was calling the defense, give them credit. They completely unleashed everybody from every single level in this ball game to make him uncomfortable. And they did. They hit him all game. He was never fully comfortable back there. He rushed 16 times for 38 yards, and State sacked him 4 times. They were bringing pressure from everywhere. I thought it was a brilliant game plan for an offense that has not been able to kind of get out of his own way this year, that has struggled to have explosive plays. You got a quarterback that hasn't been very accurate throwing the ball down the field, and that's what they did today. They made him uncomfortable. Buki Watson had an outstanding game. I thought he was great. He should be SEC Player of the Week on the defensive side of the ball, I think. 14 tackles, 2 sacks in the game for Buki. Jet Johnson, 11 tackles. Your 2 senior leaders there at linebacker were outstanding. There's not a single thing that you can say about this defense today that was negative. I can't find a single thing. And a lot of that is on Arkansas. They dropped a lot of passes. They made some bad decisions. They had some terrible play calling. I get that, but State can only face whatever offense they're facing, and they were up for the task today. I thought every single level of the defense was good. They were good up front. They were good at linebacker. Secondary was really good. Hey, Bryce Pollock, the true freshman, he's getting better and better. They were taking shots at Bryce Pollock down the field late in the ball game, and he was step for step with the receivers. He made a big tackle in bounds to let the clock roll under 30 seconds. So I think that you're seeing, some guys grow up a little bit. You're seeing the defense try to figure something out. That's what we saw on Saturday, I think. But the offense took a major step back for Mississippi State, and I think not having Will Rogers in there was a big part of it. Mike Wright starting for the first time. There was obviously some disconnect with this offense. The offensive line was just a disaster in one of those possessions whenever they were backed up in their own goal line. Cole Smith had a couple of snap infractions. You had a false start. There was miscommunication. There was obviously something off there. And I think that's to be expected. Will Rogers has been running this offense for 35-plus games. He's been the starting quarterback every single game for the last 3 years, pretty much. And you got a new guy, Mike Wright, and there's people that are going to dismiss Mike Wright and say it's time to go back, Will Rogers, but he's your quarterback right now, folks. I don't know any other way to say it. Will Rogers I don't think he's going to be back anytime soon. I think that he's going to be out for at least a few more games here. You have to run with Mike Wright. You have to figure this out. And I thought when you let him be himself on Saturday, when you let him get out and run read option, he ran a couple of quarterback draws. He looks like a deer out there. He looks like a guy that can really roll. 11 carries, 60 yards, and he was sacked twice. No, he sacked once. So he lost some yardage. There was a bad snap too, I think, that that cost him some yardage. So you're going to have to ride with Mike Wright. Let him get comfortable. Let's see what he can do. You're facing another team next week in Auburn that's not great offensively. You can afford to have some missteps here and there. That's what happened in this game. Thank God for Mississippi State. Arkansas is so bad, and Mississippi State's defense was really good, or this would have been rough. But State found a way to win. That's all that you can say at this point. They're trying to get to bowl eligibility, and then the rest, we don't know what's going to happen with this coaching staff. We don't know what's going to happen in the future for Mississippi State. But while you have the opportunity, you have to go get bowl eligible. Find a way to do it. And now you've made up ground here and won a game that you weren't supposed to win. And you're basically where a lot of people projected you to be. There's a ton of people that have Mississippi State 4-3 at this point. So no matter how bad it's looked from a win and loss record, which is that's all that matters, you're 4-3. And you have a chance now to go take another road game at Auburn next week. And you need to find a way to do it. It's 1 week at a time right now for Mississippi State. This coaching staff's figured it out. These players are trying to figure it out too. You got all these injuries. You will take a win any way you can get it. I know people are furious online. I get it. It was an incredibly frustrating game to watch, but winning games on the road in the SEC is really difficult to do, and Mississippi State found a way to get it. So you take it any way you can get it, and now technically you are 5th in the SEC West right now. Hey, you take it. Looking at some of these numbers, it's just mind-numbing. Arkansas ran 68 plays. They ran 20 more plays than Mississippi State and averaged 2.9 yards a play. 200 yards of total offense. State had 205 with 20 less plays. State averaged 4 yards a play. Not terrible. State averaged 11 yards of completion. Mike Wright was 8 of 12 for 85 yards, a touchdown interception. Justin Robinson came up big with a huge catch down the field on third down to just get some breathing room. I think that was really big. You were about to have to punt it out of your own end zone. You should have got more on that drive, and that might have been the drive that Mike Wright scored on, and I think Robinson had the crackback block. But just getting that catch was huge. And having Justin Robinson back was so big. You need a big target that you can throw the ball down the field to that can come down with it for you. And that's what they got with him. Arkansas had 3 more minutes time of possession. Arkansas turned it over twice. The state has not turned teams over very often this year. Sean Preston again. Sean Preston, an interception. I mean, he was in the backfield, safety blitzing all night. He has he's had a really good senior season. Had a tackle for loss in the game, had an interception, had a pass breakup. He's been, to me, the MVP of the secondary this year, which is a secondary that struggled. State 3 for 85, Arkansas 97. Arkansas was 19 of 31 passing. So they completed 61% of their passes for just 97 yards. They only averaged 5 yards completion. Just brutal. They have ruined having one of the best quarterbacks in the league, one of the biggest weapons at quarterback in this league and in the entire country. They've completely ruined it. I don't know what they were thinking bringing Dan Enos in, but he can't do it. KJ was 16 carries for 38 yards. DeBinion, 14 carries for 47 yards. That's been about what he's been doing when he's been in there. A.J. Green's been their best yards per carry guy. He had 4 carries for 13 yards, but they didn't give him the ball. I'm not sure what's going on there with him. State 2 for 11 on third downs. They were awful on third downs, and they had 3 opportunities on 4th and short, punted on 2, and had probably the greatest false start they could ever imagine when Xavier Thomas was not set, and they snapped the ball on 4th and 3, fumbled it, and Arkansas ran it back for a touchdown. That was the play of the game, pretty much. Arkansas 5 of 17 on third downs and 1 of 4 on fourths. These numbers are this is one of those games you're happy you got the win, flush it, and move on. State was bad punting the football. They got to figure something out there. Keelan Crimmins averaged 38 yards a punt. And Osteen, who's the guy that, is kind of their sky kicker, 35 a punt. They averaged 37 a punt, 8 punts. A long of 43, had half of those down inside the 20. Some of those were not even, you're at the 50 and you punt it to the 20. I mean, the punting game just did nothing for State today. So, I don't know. It's one of those games. It was just brutal, but you're just happy you survived. Like I've told my cousin earlier, we were watching the game. I would much rather be on Auburn's side of that 3-2 than Mississippi State's. Everybody talks about how bad Mississippi State was. I mean, people talk about the game, but people forget Auburn was involved in that. It's mostly remembered as Mississippi State losing a game 3-2. You'll take this all day. I would much rather be on Mississippi State's side of things here, 7-3, because it's a win. At the end of the day, you're 4-3, you're 1-3 in the SEC. You had to have a win, and you had to do it on the road. And you never take road games for granted. You never take SEC game wins for granted. You take those every time you get them. Mississippi State got it. So it is what it is. The Bulldogs now get ready for another stretch of games. We've been talking about this for weeks, about how Mississippi State is not going up against the gauntlet here. They have winnable games in front of them. They got one of them here. You got another one next week. You got another one after that. So you go to Auburn next week, 2:30 kick. That's an Auburn team that is, struggling a little bit here. They got Ole Miss on Saturday night. We'll see what happens with that. Probably going to be a good crowd there next week. It wasn't a great crowd at Arkansas today, but I think this will be a pretty good crowd for Auburn. I mean, their fans are kind of bought in right now. And a big game tonight with Ole Miss. We'll see how they handle that. If they kind of put up a dud, then State's really got a shot in that one next week. Auburn's sitting here in the same position. State's actually moved ahead of them in the standings. They're 0-3, have a chance to go 0-4 here. So it's going to be interesting. And then if you somehow win that one, you got a chance for bowl eligibility against Kentucky all of a sudden. If they beat Auburn, as bad as this game was today, if they beat Auburn, this is a team that still has a chance to reach 7 wins, maybe even 8. And that's shocking to think about, but that's where you are in the SEC right now. The SEC is not good this year. There's a couple of teams at the top. I think Alabama's a good team. This isn't the Alabama team that we've seen in the past. They're a good team, but they're just not as dominant. LSU is terrible on defense, but they have an elite offense. Ole Miss is one of the more balanced teams in the SEC, and after that, the rest of the West is not great, not good. Texas A&M, they're talking about firing their coach. He could be fired in the middle of the season. Who knows? So who knows what's going to happen by the time State gets to that. But the key is taking it week by week here. This is about to be, next week you're dwindling down your road games. You're about to have a stretch of 3 home games in the last 4 games. And if you can build some momentum in these next couple of weeks, suddenly this can turn out to be a successful season from a win-loss perspective, as bad as things have been. So at the end of the day, Zach Arnett has got to win games. He's got a chance to do it. So we're going to have full coverage of this. We have all the guys over there in Arkansas. I can't make these road trips. It's impossible for me to get from here to there after covering games on Friday night in high school. But we got you fully covered. Going to have some great coverage coming from Justin Frommer and David Murray and Steve Robertson. So stay tuned for that. We'll have the Victory Sunday podcast coming up tomorrow, myself and Brian Haydad on Thunder and Lightning, so you can tune in for that as well. But I appreciate you guys for checking this out. Going to try to get back to the Talking Dogs live chat possibly on Monday to break things down a little bit more. Couldn't do it this past week, just too busy, but we'll be back for all of that. So appreciate you checking out. If you aren't already, please subscribe to this channel. I'd really appreciate it. Cost you nothing. You'll just get notified whenever I put up new videos or I'm starting live chats, stuff like that. So go ahead and do that if you haven't already. Share this video if you want to. But I really appreciate you guys sticking it out and talking about this crazy game we just watched. At the end of the day, 7-3, Mississippi State wins it, and they're 4-3, over 500. They are 2 wins away from bowl eligibility, and that's your goal right now. That's just what you're hoping for at this point. If you're a Mississippi State fan, you're not going to win the SEC West. You're not going to go to a big-time bowl game probably. So just try to find a way to get to those 6 wins and keep that bowl streak alive. We'll see if Mississippi State's able to do it. Only 2 games away. It's possible. Let's see if they can do it. All right, guys. Hope you'll have a great rest of your Saturday and the rest of the weekend. Some fun games coming up later today. Hope you guys enjoy them. We'll talk to you down the road.